are now tuned in to DAR Sports Media, where we get our dream team right because we have added Nick Andre from Love of the Game podcast into the mix for our continuing finals coverage here on DAR Sports Media Hoop Hour. But for a second week in a row, we're setting standards around here. We got to start off with a little bit of women's basketball situation because it is, again, burning up the charts. Tay's camera just went off. Probably best for everybody. So today's discourse, Caitlyn Clark left off the Olympic team. And again, what I am seeing is a lot of people who want everything to be binary, who want everything to be it's a this or it's a that, and no nuance to it, and no two things can be true at the same time. To me, the argument is a little bit backwards here. The argument to me would be is if she was on the team. Because if she was on the team, then I could see an argument about, well, it's going to bring more eyeballs and, you know, all these ladies that you want to showcase. These are the best of the best. And the more eyeballs that Caitlyn Clark brings, the more they're going to be able to all be showcased all in the same place. Hopefully get that extra added exposure, hopefully get people into maybe checking them out in their own games. And then people will sit there and say, oh, well, you think that nobody's going to watch the Olympics without her and da-da-da. Nobody said that nobody would, but it is not an arguable thing in my mind that more people would watch it. The only argument here is that what you should base your Olympic team around? Or should you put the best players? Because if it's the other way around, which is how it is, she just isn't good enough. And that's fine. Like, I don't, you know what I'm saying? To me, there is no argument in that situation. If she had been on the team, then we could have that argument. But she isn't because she isn't good enough. And that is correct. So, because I'm with everybody, because usually everybody starts off. It's not enough to just be right and say she's not good enough, because she isn't right now. She's not a top 20 player in the WNBA. Not. She's a pretty good rookie. But it's like they have to follow it up on the second half and be like, well, and it's not like people won't watch the Olympics anyways. Like, there's no argument that she would bring more viewers. There is the Caitlyn Clark effect. She would bring more viewers. Is that bump worth it for whatever girl got bumped off the end of the roster? I don't think so. Not for that person. Certainly not. The experience of being able to play in the Olympics is something that should be cherished. Still. She didn't make it because she's not good enough. The viewership would receive a bump, but is it a bump worth it to start changing the criteria of how we pick the Olympic team? I don't think so either. But that would be the argument. But there isn't, because she didn't make it because she isn't good enough. Anything else? Get out of here. True, what do you think?
Oh, man? Boy. You don't want me to start firing off. First of all, first thing I want to say, today is one of them days, I guess, because first things first, I just want to talk about the discourse around Caitlyn Clark in general and the discourse around the WNBA. It actually pisses me off because I'm tired of seeing all these people who all look like Trump supporters. Let's be clear. Most of them all look like Trump supporters and under the comments of most of these things anyway. And a lot of those Republican conservatives are using Caitlyn Clark as their springboard to push their own version of racism or sexism in some way, shape, or form towards the other players. If you imply that people only care about women's basketball because of Caitlyn Clark, I think you're an idiot. That's one. Two, the WNBA, as we pointed out last week, have been growing in not only attendance but also ratings for the last 3 years. It continues to grow. Caitlyn Clark has provided them with a face to kind of market and kind of push. But I just want people to understand there's two different Americas, and I keep going back to that because it really is two different Americas. There's the America that everybody goes, oh, Caitlyn Clark, that's the one. but there's also the America who has been talking about the Las Vegas Aces with their amazing team. Obviously, they're going through a little bit of a struggle so far this season, but well, not really a struggle. They're 5-4, but they've got a couple players that are out. They haven't been able to get to their best, get their best basketball. But people were talking about the Aces before. We've heard about Kelsey Plum for a long time. Heard of Asia Wilson for a long time. People have been talking about Diana Taurasi also from Phoenix Mercury. Her teammate was at the center of a controversy, national controversy. Brittany Griner was right in the center of a national controversy. These are all people who are well known in the grand scheme. Maybe not for the things that everybody should be known for, because they should be known for playing basketball. But I think when people boil it down to ratings, the Olympics do not really need much ratings help because it's the Olympics. I mean, I think it sure use a boost, but who is Caitlyn Clark playing in front of if she gets that spot? And what's going to happen is you're going to bitch and complain like most of these people do when Caitlyn Clark plays 3 or 4 minutes a half in the Olympics. You be like, oh, see, this is racism because they don't want to let this white girl go out there and be like, shut the fuck up. Like, this shit is stupid. Like, it's very stupid. It's very dumb. And nobody has any nuance behind anything that they say in regards to Caitlyn Clark, because she is a great rookie who has had her struggles, but she's also been playing well at different times. She is a rookie. This is what happens. She's getting a lot more physicality than she was in college. She might need to hit the weight room a little bit. You got some of these girls out there, snatching the ball from her. It just happened to her about a couple minutes, like an hour ago. Snatching that ball from her. She's getting bullied, and when she's trying to guard, she's not fully ready yet, but she will be. And I think she's a talented player. She can go out there and do many things. But if you want to talk about who the main focus of this Olympics women's team should be, it should be Asia Wilson, because Asia Wilson is the best player in the WNBA. You can look at Jewel Lloyd, who is also very, very talented player and has actually had Olympic experience as well. But you're not going to talk about her because most of these people who only know Caitlyn Clark know shit about women's basketball and don't give a shit about women's basketball. You can talk about Alyssa Thomas, like I mentioned, Kelsey Plum already. I mentioned Brittany Griner, Diana Taurasi. You can talk about, like I said, Brianna Stewart. I think Chelsea Gray is also on this team. Jackie Young. There's a lot of talent on this team that have experience, and then the ones who don't have the experience, like your Kelseys, your Sabrinas. You have women who can still go out there and do great things. If you want to see a talented white woman play basketball, you can go watch Kelsey Plum. She can shoot. She can pass. You can go watch Diana Taurasi. Her old ass is hitting threes like a motherfucker. You can watch Sabrina. Sabrina was just going against Stephen Curry, the greatest shooter of all time, one of the greatest point guards to ever play the game. She went toe-to-toe with him and almost very closely beat him in a 3-point contest at All-Star Weekend. If you care so much about women's basketball and wanting to see talented players, you got plenty of talented players in front of you. There's nothing that Caitlyn Clark does that's so out of this world better than the best players in the WNBA, which is why none of this boils down. None of it is boiling down to talent and success. It's boiling down to, hey, I know that name. Why won't you put that name where I think it belongs? Even though I don't know jack shit about women's basketball. All of you, I saw, was it Matt Walsh, Nikki Haley, whatever her name is. All these people, you conservative, you right wing people, like y'all are taking this, and I get it. I'm really getting into a different bag. It's election year. I get it. This is a hot button issue for you. The racism against white people is a hot button issue right now in election year because the conservative group of people want to feel victimized because that's the only way they can find a way to get some sympathy from America. But guess what, America? We're going through a lot of stuff in terms of whether you're white, whether you're black, whether you're Spanish, whether you're Asian, whether you're Indian. Real shit is going on. Nobody gives a fuck about a little white girl getting bumped or not getting on the Olympic team. She's got fucking endorsement deals. She's the current face of this season. And I won't say the entire league because who knows what next season will bring, right? Because if Caitlyn and her team does not make the playoffs and other people might tune out. Oh, they're not treating her fair, so I'm not watching this crap league. You don't care about basketball, and it's okay. It's all right. You don't care. Go find something else to do. Go watch golf. Go watch tennis. You probably don't care about that either because none of you give a fuck about sports. You are only using this girl who has nothing to do with your perception of what it is for your own agendas. Agenda. Caitlyn Clark is talented. Caitlyn Clark will be fine. Caitlyn Clark in 2028 will be on and possibly leading that Olympic team. Give her time. She might have an MVP under her belt by the time we get to the next one. She might have, she might have led the league in scoring, 3-point shooting. She might be won a championship. Highly unlikely with the Fever, but you never know how the next 4 years can play out. You let these things play out and you let things happen. The fact that people want a rookie to be given everything, if I say what that really reeks of when it comes to that fact that she's the only person that they want that for, that is trying to put white privilege in the middle of WNBA. I ain't with that shit. I'm not with that shit. A lot of people ain't with that shit either. Caitlyn Clark gotta earn it and gotta go get it like everybody else did it. Ask Asia Wilson how she got it.
Caitlyn Clark ain't with it.
And that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And if you want to talk about people that left off the team, you can talk about Ariel Atkins, who was left off. Some people said Darica Hamby should have possibly been there. You could, obviously I'm bad with names because her name is it's a very tough one for me to read. My girl on the wings, my girl out there on the wings, she's cooking. She's the biggest. That's the biggest one they left off. You got people on. Yeah. I'm terrible with names. So I ain't want to say her whole that last name's long one for me. What Webby say? I got some names on this motherfucker, but I'm just looking at it like if you want to talk about players who've been playing well and got left off, people who've been in the league longer than just their rookie year, we can talk about it. But nobody's talking about that. I know Skylar Diggins, was left off too, but I know she was on maternity leave, so she missed it. She wasn't even invited to camp, I believe, training camp. So I get it. You know what I'm saying? I get it. She wasn't included in a lot of things. But there are other people who are also talented players. You could say, oh man, they have experience. They've been there before. They know these things. They're talented. Nobody's saying that because all you care about is one person. You don't care about basketball. Like I wish y'all shut the fuck up. I wish all of them shut the fuck up about it. You have nothing to offer in these conversations. Caitlyn Clark will be fine. Caitlyn Clark is talented. I know people. I think also one small element that I don't think people was talking about is that the controversy that surrounds Caitlyn Clark can also seep over into the team itself, and it could also cause a distraction for the team when all you're trying to do is go out there and win gold medals, and all people want to do is make it this or make it that. Or, oh my God, why is this person playing over Caitlyn Clark? Oh, it's great. Like that's a tiring discourse that even in the NBA. If people start these conversations, people will get tired of these conversations, and teams have had their chemistry messed up because the media won't shut the fuck up and people just won't stop. I mean, the most recent dynasty that we've seen in the NBA was broke up because the arguable best player on the team hated the media, the local media the team he played for, and he let some Asian and Mexican motherfuckers run him out of San Francisco when they could have won 6 or 7 more, 3 or 4 more championships. The media has a way of getting in the way of greatness, and sometimes you got to make a decision. And I think they made a decision that made the most sense. You don't see rookies and stop using fucking Dream Team, Christian Laettner on that shit as a reason. Like, oh, we'll see what happens. That's a whole different set of situations. Like, come on, bro. It's just whack.
Persons don't make something right. Okay, so I guess that's our first no. That was your short way of saying no. We should not change.
Yes.
We should not base the criteria of selecting people for the Olympic team based upon their popularity or their ability to draw eyes. It should be the best players.
Absolutely. Because you want to win. You're trying to win a gold medal. I mean, don't get me wrong. The women are going to win a gold medal regardless.
I mean, if they would have had Caitlyn Clark instead of whoever, they would still win the gold. But Axe, you got something?
I was going to say, Nick, he's been covering the W for a while, so I'm going to let him go before me, and I'll follow him up.
I was about to say, Nick's our WNBA WNBA guru. Same question. You know, should Caitlyn Clark's popularity or ability to draw eyes, should that play a role in the selection, or should we just roll with the best players?
I mean, you got to roll with the best players. I mean, pardon my language, but honestly, I mean, fuck the viewership. You know what I'm saying? I mean, women's basketball has been winning, you know, the gold medal for so many years to count. I mean, you can name the '96 team. You can name even this recent team back a couple years ago. They don't care about viewership. You know what I'm saying? And I get it. You know, Caitlyn Clark is very marketable, and she definitely has brought in a lot of revenue and everything, and a lot of eyes to the game of women's basketball, which, you know, is definitely appreciated. But it's okay for her as a rookie to not be on the team. You know what I'm saying? It's okay for her to not make the Olympic team. And I do believe that she's good enough, but she's not better than anybody else is on the roster right now. And that's really what it comes down to. And if you ask me, she's probably still going to get in anyways, because Chelsea Gray is actually on the roster and she's not even healthy. She's probably not even going to be healthy by the time that Olympic season starts. So she's probably still going to end up getting on the roster anyways. So anybody that really understands that, and especially all these Caitlyn Clark fans who were pretty much complaining about it all weekend, they can honestly just shut the hell up, because she's probably going to still end up on the roster. But that doesn't mean that she's guaranteed any playing time. What I like to think about is, a lot of people, you know, I know people like to forget about 04 with that Team USA team, because that was the year that we didn't win. We had AI, Tim Duncan, and all those players. People forget LeBron was on that team too, but LeBron didn't play for most of that Olympic run. And now we see the type of career that he has. So even with LeBron being like 18, 19 years old at that time and coming off of a rookie year, he still didn't get a lot of playing time. So people got to understand, like, look, like, you can have all the potential in the world, but it doesn't mean that you're ready to compete on this type of stage. Like, and on top of that, I mean, even if Caitlyn does see the floor, Caitlyn Clark's not going to jack up like 23s like we saw at college, or even what we see even in the league now. Like, she's not getting more touches than Asia. She's not getting more touches than Breanna Stewart. She's not getting more touches than Kalia Copper or any other all-star on that team, honestly. I mean, and that's just speaking facts. But like I said, I mean, I think Caitlyn's good. I didn't have a problem with her not making the roster, because I feel like, you know, and here's the thing. I even asked people yesterday, you know, like, people who are complaining, who are you taking off of the roster? And nobody could give me a direct answer. So the fact that you can't name one player out of, like, I think there's like 12, 13 players on the roster that you believe that you could take out and put Caitlyn Clark in, the fact that you can't give me an answer just pretty much shows that I'm right at the end of the day. So, like I said, I mean, I think Caitlyn's talented. I don't think it's the fact that she's not good. I just think that she's not better than anybody that's on the roster right now.
She isn't a top 12 player in the WNBA, period. She's not a top 20 player in the WNBA right now. She's getting there. Had her first 30-point game the other night, but simple as. Jeff, go ahead, man.
I guess the worst team.
Yeah, I thought that 16, 6-6 is very good numbers to start off the rookie year. I thought the only person that maybe she could have replaced was Jackie Young, because she's like arguably the third or fourth option. But after I was talking with my mom was like, nah, Jackie deserved that spot.
Jackie's like top 5 in scoring, so that plays a role. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was wrong on that. I thought initially, because I was thinking about last year in the playoffs, you know, how Chelsea Gray was kind of the second option for the Aces. And, you know, I respected Jackie Young. I just like, she's third or fourth option. They got 4 players on the team. Like, maybe one of them could have, but the Aces are a 2-time back-to-back chance for a reason. So I get it. But that's the only name I thought. But I didn't know she was top 5 in scoring. So that's on me. Yeah, like that roster stat, they know what they're doing as far as picking the teams, and they made bad decisions in the past, like leaving Nneka Bumike off a roster before. They left Candace Parker off a roster before. So like they made controversial decisions before. And Candace Parker is one of the all-time greats. She was left off the roster kind of in her prime. So like if the new fans to the WNBA got to get over it, because great players have been left off before. As we mentioned before, Arike, Ryan Howard. Like, it's a lot of players that could have qualified to be on this team. So it's a deep league, and they got to understand that it's a lot of talent in the W. That's just really what it boils down to. And hopefully Caitlyn Clark can use this time to rest, in all honesty. Like I alluded to last week.
Yeah.
He's been on the go, like, deep Final Four championship game run
Since November.
Right. Like, no break. Like, right to the draft, right to training camp, then right into the season. So getting that month off will probably be beneficial for her. So by the time they come back and the season resumes, like she won't come back whooping ass most likely.
Yeah.
So
So
she can use that for rest.
So that's a no. The extra eyes she would bring is not worth the trade off of bumping somebody.
I mean, international ball is already big in the women's game. Like that's why they leave here and go over there during the offseason and get paid more. Like it's always been big internationally. So I mean, it would bring more eyes, and she still has a chance to make it with Gray's injury.
Yeah. But
I'm not really sure. Like, I mean, I don't think it was a crime she was left off. I understand the marketability, but they know what they're doing as far as building a team. They constantly win the goal, constantly dominate too. So they'll be fine.
Absolutely. Speaking of teams that will be fine, they're looking fine. All right, everybody, get ready. Look at the smile. The smile creeps over his face.
Go to hell, Axe. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown.
Last night, as of this recording, Celtics are up 2-0 in the NBA Finals over the Mavs. Game was fairly competitive throughout, right into the fourth quarter, and the Celtics pulled away just a little bit. Axe, what have been the keys to getting this thing kicked off to a 2-0 lead? What do you think is going to happen going forward? First, what are the keys? What has brought the Celtics to this place?
I'm gonna be like unbiased in my analysis real quick, and then I'll turn up a little bit. But my unbiased professional answer is we've taken away the alley-oop. They led the playoffs in lives by a large margin. They've only had 1 or 2 in the series, if I'm not mistaken. Derek Lively's had 2 points in the first 2 games combined. So taking him away, he's been a major factor in their playoff run. Just the balanced offense. I had alluded to last week saying that we had the better depth. And first game, we had 6 players in double figures. Second game, we had 5 players in double figures. Having 5 guys average 16 points per game or more, it's just great balance early on. Hopefully that continues. And then Dallas's stagnation on offense. PJ Washington has played well. Kyrie, I'm not going to go too deep into that. I'll save that for after the series, but he hasn't shot the ball well. And outside, and when his offense isn't really flowing, he's not really contributing too much. Him and Luka has been getting attacked consistently on the defensive end as well. Drew Holiday did a great job of cutting, setting the tone. Him and Derek White had big plays defensively. Jaylen Brown had big plays defensively. So the fact that we've held this Mavericks team under 100 points in both games, it's been like really, really impressive. So that's the professional answer. I'm gonna let everybody else go. Now I'm gonna spin back.
Don't.
Tay, you've been waiting to get into the game here. Thoughts on how we got to this place with the Celtics 2-0? How do you think it's going to go going forward?
The Boston Celtics have been playing great defense, especially on Kyrie. It looks like they're making it a point of emphasis to take him out of the game because that's a big chunk of the Mavs offense outside of Luka. So they're doing a great job doing that. Kyrie has been a no-show so far. I know they're hoping that things change for Game 3, going back to Dallas or going to Dallas for the first time. Yeah, the Dallas they need all hands on deck. They can't just get carried by Luka. Like someone else has to provide something on offense. I don't know. Luka just can't do it by himself, and that's how it looked in Game 2. It just looked like he gave it his all, but just as a team, like they just weren't ready.
Nick, what do you think, man? How do we get here, and what do you think is going to happen going forward?
Boston's just a better team on both ends, and to me, it's pretty much showing. Like not even in the box score, they're just out hustling Dallas right now, and it's crazy because even going into the series, I thought that, especially with how good Dallas' supporting cast has been, like PJ Washington has unleashed in his postseason. They got good production out of Derek White Jr. Derek Lively's been amazing all season long. Daniel Gafford, another big piece. that was a part of that trade earlier this season. So I felt like even though, you know, it's obviously a debate about which duo is better between Luka and Kyrie and then Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. But I knew that coming into the series is going to be all about the depth, and I knew that the supporting cast is going to be a huge factor for both of these teams in this series. And you got to give credit to Boston's supporting cast. I mean, Drew Holiday had an amazing performance. I think he had like 26 points and 11 assists or something like that in Game 2. You love the production that you get from guys like Al Horford. Porzingis had a strong Game 1. So it's pretty much the others, and it's crazy because JB and JT, they still haven't even really unleashed, really, honestly. And I know that people are complaining about Jason Tatum not having a big scoring performance so far in these first 2 games, but you got to look at everything else that he's doing as far as rebounding the ball at a high level, being able to be a great playmaker, getting to the free throw line. So I know that he hasn't shot the ball well, and neither has JB in a way, but you got to give credit to what Jason Tatum has been doing aside from scoring. And then Jaylen Brown as well, who I said is by far the best player in this series so far, especially with how he's been able to set the tone defensively, you know, especially applying tremendous ball pressure, being able to get key stops, and then, of course, you know, being able to score offensively as well. So right now, Boston has control, and I think one of the biggest things for Dallas, honestly, when you look at it, is Kyrie hasn't been as effective in these first 2 games, and Kyrie's had a sensational playoff run, especially in that Minnesota series. And you could say it's a combination of Boston playing tight defense on him, not allowing things to be easy, and then honestly the crowd as well. You know, every time he touches the ball, he's going to get booed. So I think that the crowd has gotten to his head a little bit, and it has affected his play. So maybe when the series now goes back to Dallas on Wednesday, he'll be more locked in and more in full control of his game. But right now, you got to give credit to Boston right now, because right now they're in control. I do predict that Dallas could possibly get one of these games, but with how well Boston has played defensively, who knows, honestly. I mean, it's possible that they can get at least one in Dallas in games 3 or 4.
Tay, do you foresee anything changing? What can Dallas do to try and turn this thing around, man?
Get Kyrie to score. I think that's really all they need. They just need someone else that can put the ball on the floor. That's all they need. It's not even that complicated. They don't even need to overthink it. Just get Kyrie going.
It all rests on him. True. How the hell did we get here, man?
I don't fucking know. And I'll be honest, I don't fucking care anymore. My joy has been wiped out watching the Celtics go up 2-0. You know, I'm already having a tough time as it is, and it just made my life even worse than it's been going. And Ax, I want you to know, I wish nothing but the worst for you and nobody else but you going forward. Honestly, on a serious note, Celtics are obviously the better team, as Tay has said several times, and we've all said they're a super team. And when you have a team, and they're not a super team in the sense of like, oh, we got Braun and D Wade or Steph and KD type of super team, but super team in the sense of like, hey, our arguably fourth or fifth option just gave you 26 and led us in scoring and had a double-double in the finals. I mean, KP in game 1, you know, Porzingis came out firing. You know, I saw he got, I think, you know, slightly hurt again, and he said he'll die out there, which not even going to comment on that, but I respect the drive. Yeah, he's not like, you know, like nobody's missing it. Like, first of all, sports books. Let's also point out the sports books love trying to sell that Luka shit. Like, oh, Luka's questionable and he's hurt. He's not, like, he's gonna play. Shut up. Like, he was always gonna play. And I think Luka is obviously not 100%. And I don't know if that's necessarily the cause of the Mavericks not being able to do anything, because Luka has shown up. He's attempted to do what he can do, but obviously he's a little bit limited. But also, you're taking away Luka's his sidekicks. You know, Derrick Jones Jr. in the previous series had a big showing. PJ Washington also had a big showing. PJ Washington's been playing decent. Derrick Jones Jr. hasn't been playing terrible either. But it's just when you take some of that away, and then you take away, you know, in the what was it? The last 2 series, Kyrie was a second half god. Really, you know, he had his struggles in the first half, and in the second half he would take off, and he has not done that at all. which I think is interesting because if he was somewhat able to say Kyrie could drop 14 to 16 in the second half, we're having a whole different discussion about the series. It's a 1-1 series if Kyrie shows up in that second half and can hit a damn three, because he has not been able to hit a damn three, like literally really at all. Like his shooting has been terrible. So the defense that the Celtics are playing on Kyrie, it's funny, we talked about this before the series started. Obviously, Kyrie has not had, I got into it with somebody on Twitter today about it because I was like, Kyrie hasn't played super great against Celtics. He's had his struggles against the Celtics, and Kyrie fans, obviously, mostly because I tried to put Steph in the middle there. I said, you know a guard who didn't struggle like that with the Celtics? Steph. But they always do the Steph and Kyrie thing. Kyrie has had his struggles against the Celtics, and Axis pointed out multiple times since he's left. He's had a couple good games, back in the pandemic era. He had I think a good game on Christmas, and I think he had a good game after that. Then he had another game where he shot 4 for like 19. He was like 5 for 20 something. So he's had rough shooting performances against the Celtics, and not even the best iterations of the Celtics. The Celtics team that they beat in the first round in 2022 to advance to the second round, Kyrie had that one good game, and he stunk the rest of the series, and that was next to KD. So it's like there's something there. I don't know what it is. They just know how to play. Maybe they know Kyrie too well over there, especially Tatum and Jalen. Maybe they know him a little too well. I guess Horford would count too, right? Because Horford's was there too. So you have these guys who, like, we know his moves, we know how he does, and also Kyrie does have a tendency to like overcomplicate some of his stuff too. And I know we marvel at it because it is super talented and super skillful, but he does overcomplicate it. There's often times where I'll see Kyrie get the ball, and I'm like, man, you open right now. They about to close out on you. Shoot that motherfucker, and he'll pause, hesitate, boom, 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 dribble, drive in, run into 2 defenders, or run into Tatum pokes the ball away. It's stuff like that where it's like those little decisions change the course of a game. It changes the trajectory of what you're doing with your offense, and it frustrates somebody. And Kyrie is someone who we've seen multiple times when he gets frustrated on the offensive end, you almost take him out the game. You just completely take him out the game, and he was absolutely frustrated. And also the difference is that when I look at the backcourt of the Celtics, Drew Holiday, Derek White, on paper, they are no match offensively, obviously, for Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. But what Drew Holiday and Derek White do on the opposite end of the ball is what makes them so valuable for the team, because you have to find something to stop Kyrie and Luka. Drew Holiday has been excellent on the offensive end. He's been great on the boards. I mean, that's I gotta give him his flowers. Like, he's been amazing on the boards for an undersized guard like himself. He's been great getting these boards. He just had a double in game 2. So I think when you look at Derek White hasn't even had that breakout game where he's hitting 4, 5, 6 threes yet either. So I'd be scared as shit if I'm the Mavs, because that there's another gear that we've seen the Celtics go to, but we also know there's another gear that the Mavs can go to. So I think when you look at the one thing that's going to make the difference is can you play defense? Luka can't. Luka's he's not 100%, so he's going to suffer. He's going to suffer a little bit on the defensive end. But Kyrie, can you play defense? Can you guys slow? Can you guys rotate a little bit more? Like, can you do the things that you need to do to stifle this offense? Because the Celtics offense, I always say if you can trick the Celtics into beating you with just a 3-ball, you have a shot to win a game. Because when the Celtics figure out that, we could also drive, we can also do this, we can also get in the you're not stopping them. If you let them hit, like, I've watched the series, like multiple series and multiple games of the Celtics just shooting threes. Like, you want to live with that, because sometimes they'll hit, sometimes they're not. Jaylen Brown is not a great 3-point shooter. Jason Tatum is a decent 3-point shooter. He got his nights where he's super off as well. Derek White, that's who you really want to watch out for, because Derek White can get hot, hit 6, 7 damn threes. Al Horford's old ass sit in the corner and pop them threes. Like, that's what you got to watch out for. But I would rather live with that than just easy buckets and not being able to slow them down and stop them. So I think that's a part of what the Mavs have to do. really the X factor, like I said when we talked about it the other week, is Kyrie. If Kyrie can show up on both ends in some way, shape, or form, I don't expect him to have Drew Holiday, Derek White defensive masterclass, or Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum defensive masterclass. But if you can just show up and make a couple of shots, a couple of possessions hard for the other team, and give us 25, 30, you're capable of doing that. I know the Celtics want them to rely on that, though. If you're the Celtics, yeah, go ahead, Luka. Go for 35. Yeah, Kyrie. Go for 30, 35. Go for it. Because while Jason Tatum is doing all these things, and I know I don't look at Jason Tatum in the same way, obviously, as Axe does, because Axe thinks he's the most underrated player in the history of the NBA, next to Paul Pierce, I'm sure. But I'm not going to champion Jason Tatum for playing the way he's played either, because if I played on the team where my other guy can go out there and get me 20, my fourth option can get me 26 and 10, and the guy who was basically the third offensive option could jump back from being out for like a month, some change, and give 20 off the bench in his first game back. It's like you don't have to go out there and score. You just do the intangibles and do the smart things, the things you need to do, and your team is already better, which I don't think, like I said, I think the Mavericks, it all hinged on, can PJ Washington be great? Can PJ Washington have another 20-point game with 5 threes? Can Derrick Jones Jr. go out there and catch lobs and do this and do that and hit a couple open threes? Can Derek Lively be able to grab boards and score at the rim? They've got really none of that. PJ Washington ain't been hitting all them threes. He ain't been, he's been scoring. He's been getting buckets here and there, but he hasn't been doing what we saw him do against Minnesota. They haven't been doing what we saw them doing against Oklahoma City. Because the Celtics are a different breed of team. The Celtics are smart. They've been here before. Experience is killer, and it's very important. This is not the first finals for Jaylen Brown, for Jason Tatum, for Al Horford, for Derek White. This is not the first. It's not the first for Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday's a champion. So these are players that have been here before, and they know what it takes to win. And they've also had to take an L before. And the last time they were in the finals, they took a terrible L, and they were up 2-1, and then they took an L. I don't think Kyrie and Luka have whatever Steph had in him 2 years ago, and it's also a very different team. It's a much better team. The Celtics team is much better than that team that was in 2022, and I think that 2022 team was really good, but at least not we forget, they made those trades and made some adjustments. That year they went to the finals. So I think for the Mavericks, you really gotta focus on moving some things and changing some things on offense. You might have to, and unfortunately, they don't have a lot of clientele that can really make a difference, I feel, against the Celtics. But maybe you need.
I already gave my professional answer. I'm done being humble. I'm gonna just keep it a stack for this next minute.
Give me a
go
break.
ISO. Let's go.
Yeah, got to real quick, man. I already gave my professional answer. Luka and Kyrie gonna keep getting attacked on defense straight up. Like Derek White with the ball head gonna keep splashing, making his big plays on defense. Drew Holiday is gonna strap up. Like we're gonna tire them out. Luka, as long as he walks the ball up, that plays into our hands, our defense is gonna be set. So the only reason why we struggle with Indiana because they pushed the pace and they had multiple guys that broke players down off the dribble. So basketball, NBA Twitter needs to give a little bit more respect to the Pacers. They were better than y'all gave them credit for. Straight up.
No, man.
I thought they were good.
They were doing offense for a reason. They were bad defensively, but offensively
without their best offensive player though. But they were without their best offensive player against y'all. Like that's kind of the issue. Like they were without their best player. That does matter when we're talking about some of the stuff. Like they can push the pace. Nembhard and Neesmith and these guys. They're fast paced, but it's a skill. It's a skill issue. I think
I'm saying the type of system they ran gave us a bigger issue personnel wise than Dallas. That's why when
you got to run them.
It was a bad matchup for Dallas due to how stagnant their offense is. And Tajon Archive told me that matchups don't matter. I'm like,
you'll call his whole name out.
And I didn't know. I had to look up. We beat Luka 6 times in a row. We beat Kyrie 12 times in a row and Luka 6 times in a row. So I'm kind of feeling good. We might sweep them. We won 9 straight road games. We're better on the road than we are at home. Jason Tatum plays better on the road than he does at home. Like by game 3, he might get his 30 piece. We won a game when we shot 26% for 3. Everybody talking about, oh, y'all play them teams in the mighty Western Conference. Y'all gonna bow down. They had the tougher road. Oh, y'all just fire up threes. Y'all can't win no other way. 26% still won comfortably. Y'all need to respect this. We got the 4th highest win margin in playoff history once we complete this series, man. We're winning by 11 points per game in the playoffs. This is a historically great team as we get criticized and shitted on this whole playoff run. Oh, they run ain't impressive. They played a bunch of hurt teams. Oh, the Eastern Conference is thin and weak. Oh, if they was in the West, I got 4 teams from the West that could have got what y'all did. And rah, rah, rah. And like, oh, we won 64 games just for no reason, huh? We just like, we won, what was it, 49 games by 20 points or more? That just happened for no reason, huh? We ain't putting the work. And y'all need to give credit to my coach, Joe Mazzulla. Everybody want to talk about how socially awkward he is. He may be, but that's not the point. The point
That nigga weird as shit. He weird as shit. Let's be real. They asked that nigga one question. He started talking about Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. It's like, brother, we are talking basketball. It's like, I get it. I get it. The game was on Sunday. I get it. You know, the game's on Sunday. I get it. But brother, we're not here to talk religion.
Like everybody was like,
no,
it's a great team, but yo, he's made the offensive and defensive adjustments, and Sam Cassell and Charles Lee as well. Like we got a great coaching staff.
You have a great roster. You have the best starting 5. You won 64 games. Nobody here should be shocked at anything that's happening, but it is 2 things can be true. You can be a great team. You can be the best team in the league, but also your road to make it there could also been a little easier because you didn't have to go up against teams with their best player. I think 2 things could be true. It doesn't have to be like people discrediting the team. It's like, I think when we started the year and we saw what you guys came into, I think most people said, yeah, Celtics definitely coming out the East. I didn't see.
We traded our heart and soul when we traded Marcus Smart. Oh, y'all.
Man, nobody care about no fucking Marcus Smart. You know. Oh, you know that.
Oh, where's the touch?
I thought
come from? That's some bullshit. I saw. Like I saw.
No, don't get me wrong.
You gotta add context to that, bro. That was before Drew Holiday. He did not.
I was gonna say that was before the Drew trade.
At the time, that was true, but given new information comes new, takes and whatnot. That
2 things can be true.
The Bucks too. Ooh, Giannis and Dame. Oh, that 2-man game.
You know we didn't. I was saying, you know we didn't. You know we didn't on this show. We ain't do that shit.
Nobody say that.
No, I'm saying people were like people was talking about the Heat. Like, oh, y'all scared to play the Heat. Jimmy Butler is going to terrorize you. All that bullshit, man. Like,
wait. X.
Once we win, bro.
I just want to paint this picture for you, right? You've painted your Celtics as some scrappy underdog that's been hated on and people have doubted. And I'm looking at this team that had the best record literally the entire season. They've won 64 games. They're number 1 seed in the East. I don't think anybody, when the season started, most people said they were going to come out of the East. I think most people thought it was going to be Celtics versus the Bucks in the conference finals. Obviously, injuries kept the Bucks from even getting close to sniffing that. But also, that does play into kind of why people look. I've watched people discredit the Warriors, who else? The damn Lakers for winning in the bubble. You know what I'm saying? The Warriors for getting an easy, quote unquote, easy road because they didn't, people was getting injured. Like, that's just the game. People always trying to discredit somebody. At the end of the day, your team was obviously the best team. Your team is obviously has an amazing roster and they have the best starting 5 you could run with. And they got old ass Al Horford who can still contribute off the bench. You got Peyton Pritchard who can hit shots, who can pass the ball. And he does a lot of things well. You got Sam Hauser who can hit threes as well. So you have guys that you can bring. You got 8 to 9 men that you can bring off that all do good things. But your starting 5 is easily the best starting 5 in the NBA. I can't see a starting 5 that'll be able to contend with that. It'll be better than that. So I don't think people were hating on them. It's just that it looked like on paper when the season started, it was gonna be either the Celtics or the Bucks. But then on paper, when you really look at the Bucks, like we all said, I don't believe in Dame anyway. Everybody knows I don't never believe in Dame. So I think that was what it was. I think people just looked at that, and then as the season started, and it was like the Bucks were struggling, the Celtics were cooking and doing their thing. They was just running through everybody. I think at that point it was like, Celtics, they got this, they got a super team, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, people was calling Phoenix a super team when they got Bradley Beal. So if people were calling Phoenix a super team and giving them hell, you got to get a Celtics up. The difference is the Celtics actually kept their continuing winning culture, which is funny because you go from being in the conference finals and being one game away from the finals last year to adding Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday while retaining your two best players, Derek White with the ball head now, as you say. And now you have, Al Horford, who was, very key in a lot of those playoff runs. Now he's off the bench, giving you somebody who you can pass to in the corner to hit a three. Now you can go to Peyton Pritchard to come off the bench, who can give you, threes. I've seen Peyton Pritchard put up like eight rebounds, 8 assists with 10 points. Like he can do those things off the bench. He can hit threes. So you have a lot of players who you can turn to that can do a great thing. And so I think that's where the Celtics criticism is that, well, hell yeah, you should probably be here. I think people don't want to see them win because of the fact.
And we're a petty fan base.
I damn sure don't
want to be harassing everybody in NBA Twitter. I already know that certain Celtics fans is going to be pulling up tweets. I'm gonna be one of them, but yeah, we're gonna be belligerent on there.
And that's the problem. If you build the best team and you have what is on paper looks like a super team, especially name wise, stats wise for these players in the past, it's like why? Like why even, why are we gonna be belligerent? It's like y'all been consistently either in the last 3 seasons, right? Finals, conference finals. It's not like you're like a team that was like, we was like 8th in the East last year. We was 9th in the East, and we was 11th, and then we finally we back. Like y'all niggas,
we've been shitting on too many years, man. Like
y'all supposed to, because y'all ain't win yet. Now y'all about to win.
We gonna be arrogant. Like it's not gonna be a humble Celtics fan on Twitter. Like I can assure you that.
If I had 5 niggas in my starting 5 that could get 20 points, I ain't gonna say shit. I wouldn't say nothing.
With the new CBA and with a lot of players going to be on the market, this is the opportunity, especially with a quote unquote weak draft, for these teams to go for all-star players, take low risk, high reward. Like Zach LaVine's out there, Brandon Ingram's out there, Darius Garland's out there. You got fringe all-star players that can make a difference. So this is the year to actually make some shape.
I hope nobody buys into the Brandon Ingram bullshit, because I'm done. I'm done buying into it. It's not. He's not. I don't see where he would fit.
On to a contender. You don't think that could be possible?
Like who though? Like who?
I know.
Who would?
I know. I mean, I've been hearing it, but I know people were saying that the Hawks would trade the number 1 pick to get him. I don't know if they should do that, but I personally, I'll be real. That's what I've been hearing. I'm not for it. I mean, if you can get Alex Sarr with the number 1 pick, I'm not saying that he's going to be a big difference maker, because I don't think anybody in this draft is eligible to really be a franchise player. But I think if you put Alex Sarr next to a Trae Young and DeJounte, I think that'd be dope. But honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing Brandon Ingram in Atlanta. I just wouldn't trade the number 1 pick. That's just my thing. Right. If you can find another way to get him, I wouldn't be bad at it.
Nick, any okay, go ahead.
Nah, I was just gonna say I agree he'd be cool. He cool, but I feel like if you bring Brandon Ingram and you keep the number 1 pick, Trae or DeJounte Murray are probably gone. Like one of those two had to be gone. I think one of those two are gone regardless. So that's also my thing. And Zach LaVine is
DeJounte Murray. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I don't see what Brandon Ingram changes the trajectory for a team. I think he could enhance the Hawks and help them maybe win a couple more games, but I don't see them becoming like a contender in the in the East with him. And Zach LaVine kind of the same thing as Zach LaVine was on some diva shit this last season, and then he was acting weird, and then he got injured and he was out most of the year, and the Bulls started to get more chemistry without him on the floor. So it's so much I don't know, man. It's just so much weird shit with putting these things together. You know, in the NBA, it's like there's a lot of players that are going to be available, but like who,
Like,
you know, who are we looking to make, you know, like how can you get someone that's better, that makes you better or on the level of a Celtics team? Like, you know, now obviously the Bucks are going to come back with Dame and Giannis next year. I mean, at least I think so. You know, I think so. And, you know, who knows what Phoenix is going to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, these next couple weeks after the finals are over are going to be really interesting because I feel like we're going to see a lot of player movement because everybody going to want to compete. You want to build and get players. And then I guess who the hell, you know, like who? Like who? That's the question to me. Like who we looking at that's going to really make a change?
Sounding like the Tootsie Pop fucking owl. Nick Andre, final thoughts on Axe's victory parade. Thoughts about, you know, the fury, the built up rage that this Celtics fan base is going to unleash if they can lock this away. Is it warranted?
I mean, I'll say that it's been 16 long years since the last one. I mean, it's not as long as the Knicks, who's been about half a century, but you know, 16 long years. I mean, we talk about the origin of the Celtics and, you know, the winning culture that they have from Bill Russell, Larry Bird to Paul Pierce and KG and those guys, and now Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown can now, you know, put themselves in that category, you know, possibly finishing the job here. I think the Celtics have a really high chance, honestly. I mean, and Axe made some good points too. I mean, they are undefeated on the road in this postseason, so that also gives them an extra edge, you know, as far as them possibly winning a game in Dallas or even sweeping the series and even winning both of them. So I'll be real. I mean, right now Boston has that advantage, and I'll be real. Like, I'm really interested to see what adjustments Dallas does make because Luka hasn't really played bad in these first two games. I mean, he had a triple double in game 2, 30, 11, and 11. So what more can you ask from the superstar? But he's going to need his right hand man, and that's Kyrie Irving, who has been sensational throughout this entire postseason. So game 3 is going to determine everything. You know, Dallas has got to play like their backs are against the wall, and if they can't find a way to win that one, then you can just call it wraps.
Well, we thank Nick Andre. You can check him out. Love of the Game podcast. Follow him on Twitter. Excellent show. Really digging into hoops, especially, you know, all of you new WNBA fans out there. He's been a guru covering that game for years and years and years.
Facts.
Anything else you wanna plug in there, old Nick?
Nothing else, man. Just follow me on X at Nick Andre ATR. Check out For the Love of the Game new episodes twice a week. Recent episode I had my brother on here right next to me, Jeff Axelon. You know, he also dove more into the NBA Finals series and why he thinks Boston has a chance of winning it all this year. So, man, you know, be sure to check that out.
Check us out. We had a pretty spicy week in wrestling that went up. If you're so inclined for the wrestling pod, check that out. It's up on YouTube right now. United Football Media, we did a review of a interesting, I'll leave it at that, an interesting playoff weekend for United Football League over on the United Football Media YouTube page. And stay tuned to ours for NBA updates, weekend wrestling, all of that and more, because the world of DAR never stops.